Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Higurashi. So we finally finished up pretty much all those fragments last time. We're just on to this new fragment, so to speak, with Akasaka and him kind of just like beating everybody up and being like the cool dude. And like I said last time, I'm doing this in like the same recording session, so to speak. I'm just uploading them separately. So, just, if I do anything and anyone comments on it, I won't be able to make any changes. Anyway, we're now in a dojo after that big, police sting, I guess you would call it. And, let's continue. Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mold. The dojo was located in the middle of downtown in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. It certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. But this was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies. But now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he finally settled on. Every time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He thought first, developed those thoughts, and then punch! It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered, and the dust welled up in the air. It was a perfect blow embodying the concepts of one strike, one kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if trying to hear the cry of the cicadas, and then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows.
Akasaka-san って警察に勤めてるって噂だぜ。
マジかよ。あんな人が警官やってるなら、俺は悪いことする気なんか起きねえぜ。
しかし、赤坂さんも集中力がすげえよな。あの人疲れるってことを知らねえぜ。
On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and he silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment. And what we've learned is there's no one way to reach it. And a path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose.
噂に聞いたんだけどよ。あの人、奥さん死んじゃってるらしい。
Wow, that's pretty rude.
それを忘れるために空手を始めたって噂だぜ。
あれ？俺が聞いた話は違うぜ。任務中に女の子を救えなかったとか、なんとかで。それで自分の無料。
おい、聞こえてるぞ。人の噂話なんかしてないで。稽古をしろ。
おっす！
There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting him know it was noon.
あ、赤坂さん。俺たち弁当買ってきますけど、赤坂さんのも買ってきましょうか。
助かる。何でもいいぞ。頼む。
Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than to have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building.
くそ。人の話なんかしやがるから。集中が途切れちまったじゃないか。
But if that happened because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was a lot lighter than before, and obviously the strength in his fist was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air, just a little. Just as they said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yuki's death. Of course, losing against the suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too, but more than that, the pain from Yuki's death is what made him start. Yuki fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shishibone. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Hinamizawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. A girl had predicted Yuki's death, and in return, she wanted him to help her. Yuki's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Oishi and called him to make sure he was okay, and then found out about everything. When he was caught up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was the turning point in his life. If he had believed what she had predicted and did something about it, maybe Yuki wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything, and she died. Visiting Hinamizawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he had only listened to what that girl said, Yuki would have never died, and he could have been there to help Rika Furude. Those two things continued to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa that he heard about from Oishi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster, but it was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already been done. So in that case, the only thing he can do is train diligently so that if the same thing is to happen again, he'll be able to save a person in need. It's all too late. Everything is already over. Yuki died in an accident. Hinamizawa was destroyed in the gas disaster. And Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were ripped out while she was alive. I was too obsessed with Yuki's death and couldn't hear the girl's pleas for help. No, if I'd listened to her, I could have prevented Yuki's accident too. Dang it. Dang it. As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he had never thought of praying to gods in times of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing.
もう一度、もう一度。あの時に戻らせてくれ。そ そうしたな。今度こそ俺は、二人を救う。
At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance, as if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training, and his brain was lacking in oxygen. But he couldn't take his eyes off the shrine.
ありがとう、赤坂。あなたの思いが私たちにはとても必要だった。
Was this a hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him.
私たちが奇跡を願い、あなたも奇跡を願わなければ奇跡は起こらない。だって奇跡は全員が願わなかったら起こらない。双方が手を伸ばし合わなかったら届かない。
He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like it was something very, very important.
赤坂、もしあなたも望んでくれるなら私たちに奇跡を。それは欠けたかけらを結び合わせ、より大きな大きなかけらを生み出すきっかけになる。あなたのたった一つの決意が全員の思いや運命に大きな影響を及ぼすこともあるのだから。
あの時にもう一度時間を巻き戻してくれるというのか。
うん、そんなこと私にできるのは気づかせることだけ。一つのかけらだけでは学べないことを他のかけらで学んだことを気づかせてあげるだけ。だからこの欠けたかけらをあるべきところへ戻すだけ。それでもきっと大きな奇跡。もっともその奇跡をあなたはきっと気づかないだろうけれど。
Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I've spent asking you for help. But finally it reached you. So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No, please help us. Maybe there's that strong piece we needed. Oh, we're not done with the fragments here? Yeah, I guess not. Look at that. Okay. Back here again. It was long. It really was long. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything we have that can go up against Takano and her minions in the game of fate in the June of 1983? I think, maybe, we have everything. And last but not least, Hanyu, it's you. The time you have left to be a piece is limited, but that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Shall we begin? I put in hundreds of years just for this moment. Okay. It's all coming together. Someone once suggested that believing is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win and then bet a coin. But as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realize that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, she didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She had been running, trying not to get involved in any kind of match, because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that meant she was going to lose it eventually. Anyway, there was something she didn't know. Actually, I didn't know it at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning this game. In other words, the more frightened we are, the more we'll keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself. But when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance in a scale tips with just a little weight. The big, heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. I didn't help because I was sure it couldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win. So I didn't bet my coin. But that was wrong of me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time I'd been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was there just to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. To be involved in something is the same as to exist. Therefore, she existed.
Hi, 皆さん。朝のホームルームを始めますよ。おしゃべりはおしまいです。委員長、号令。起立。礼。おはようございます。着席。
Rattle, rattle, rattle. It's an ordinary morning. The only difference is that it started a little later than usual. Chi-sensei normally arrives in the classroom right away. She's a little late today. Why was she late for homeroom? The rumors were already stirring about the classroom before she arrived. Chi-sensei gave a cue and a girl peeked in the room timidly. Oh, it's Hanyu. Like, with the horns and everything. Kind of weird, but sure.
新しい転校生の古出羽生さんです。今日から皆さんと一緒にお勉強することになりました。
The voices of welcome, delight, and surprise all mixed together and filled the classroom. Yeah, I was gonna say, Furude, like, are they related? Or at least that's what they're implying with this name?
あれリカちゃんの親戚なの？そうなのですよ。僕の遠縁の親戚なのです。もう私もびっくり
Wow,
でございます。
I didn't know you had a distant relative.
リカに親戚がいたなんて知りませんでしたわ。
いやいや、おじさんも知らなかったよ。まあ、御三家筋は結構ややこしいからね。私の知らない縁戚がいたとしてもありえないことじゃないよ。
でもやっぱりリカちゃんの親戚だよね。はう、かいよ。
You know, it's been a while since we've had this conversation. All my classmates had gotten excited. The new girl looked rather intimidated by it all. Rika-chan is rather carefree, but this Hanyu seems like the complete opposite. She's more like a shy woodland animal. The exact type that Rina loves. Look, see, Rina is ready to swallow her whole.
では羽生さん、自己紹介をしてください。皆さんは静かに聞くように。はい、それでは羽生さん、どうぞ。
Chi-sensei left the podium and encouraged Hanyu to take over. The even greater pressure of the silence left her standing there timidly for a little bit. Well, that's understandable. It's very nerve-wracking to watch, though.
フルで羽生と言いますのです。その、理科の親戚なのです。僕の親戚なのですよ。みんな仲良くしてあげてほしいです。
Rika-chan can tell she's too nervous to introduce herself. She's right to break the silence. Pressuring her like that isn't fair. Which is why I decided to make it more lively.
リカちゃんと同じフルデさんなんだね。はあ、フルデさんが2人になっちゃった。なら、羽生さんでいいじゃありませんの。フルデさんって呼んだら、リカも振り返ってしまいましたよ。
We generally call each other by our first names here. She's one of us starting today, so we should call her by her first name too.
なら決まりだね。今日からあんたのことは羽生って呼ぶよ。私はクラス委員長の園崎ミオン。ミオンでいいからね。
北条聡子でございますわよ。よろしくですわよ、羽生さん。
I'm Daki Tomita. I'm an important character, sort of. I've been in the story a couple times. My parents run a tofu shop. Please come by anytime. I'm Shiguri Okamura. I'm also an important character. I've been in the story a few times. Please ask me if you don't know anything.
こんにちは。仲良くしようね。
I'm Girl. I don't have a name.
何年生？
Our classmates fell over each other to introduce themselves. Everyone tried to get her to remember their names so they could be friends. A friendly atmosphere swelled in the room. I've only just transferred recently myself, but this is exactly how it was on my first day too. I remember how nervous I was and how much I appreciated this as a result. I know more than anyone about how nerve-wracking it is to be a new student. I should look after her.
そうだね。早くクラスに馴染めるようにしてあげないとね。
そっか。レナも去年は転校生だったんだよな、確か。レナも転校してきた時は緊張したか？
うん。でも、みーちゃんたちがすごく親切にしてくれたから、すぐに馴染めたんだよ。
まあね。ニューカマーを迎えるのも御三家の大切な仕事だからね。
都合のいい時だけ御三家になるな、お前は。でもミオンなんかに世話になって馴染めたってのは確かにそうだ。
なら今度はケイちゃんがお世話をする番ってことになるんじゃないかな。
そうだな。レナだって転校生だったのに、その次に来た俺に世話をしてくれたもんな。なら今度は俺が新しい転校生に親切にする番ってことだな。
A new student always dramatically changes the atmosphere of a class. Even my attitude has changed. We decided to gather around Hanyu during lunch break.
羽生への質問は1人1個ずつだからね。彼女の本質に迫るディープな質問をズバリ言ってみよう。さあさあ、1番は誰？
好きな食べ
Poor
物は
young boy. He doesn't even get classified as boy. I guess maybe that's helpful though. He gets like an identifier as well. He's young boy. So he's a little bit more unique than boy.
甘いお菓子はみんな大好きなのです。一番好きなのはシュークリームなのですよ。
あら、それは素敵ですわね。私も大好物でしたよ。沖宮に美味しい洋菓子のお店がありますの。今度案内して差し上げましたよ。
はいはい、男ども聞こえたね。羽生の好感度を稼ぐにはシュークリームだよ。安いやつより高級店の高くて美味しいやつが効果的。さあ次の質問は誰かな。ないならおじさんが好きな子のタイプとか聞いちゃうよ。
Everyone kept asking Hanyu questions, and she looked all panicky again. I guess this is like a traditional ceremony for a new student. I remember this is exactly how my first day went. Mion and Satoko seemed amused, so it must be the same for them too. I noticed Rina watching the scene before her with a distant look in her eyes. She probably remembers her first day too.
レナも転校してきた時を思い出してるのか？他のことを考えてたな。羽生をお持ち帰りする算段でもしてるんだろう。
そんなこと考えてないよ。羽生ちゃんがシュークリームが大好きなこととか、レナのうちに美味しいシュークリームがあるんだよ、食べにおいでとか全然考えてないんだよ。お持ち帰り
明日からいきなり不登校になったらこりゃレナのせいに違いないな。
そんなのひどいよ。
As we watched Hanyu and our classmates have fun, Rina and I laughed together.
ねえケイチくん、なんだか嬉しいね。
嬉しいよな、新しいクラスメートを迎えるのは。
そうじゃなくて、この子たまに見かけてた気がするの。
羽生か？引っ越し前の下見とかで来た時とかかな。レナって記憶力いいな。
そういうのじゃなくて、羽生ちゃんはもっと前からいて、レナたちのすぐ近くでみんなで遊んでるのをずっと見てた気がするの。
Alright, Rina, that's kind of weird, but sure.
ずーっと。あれ？レナだけ？ケイチくんも気づいてたよね。
いや、俺は全然見たこ
Nope,
とが
I
ないん
have
だ。
no idea what you're talking about.
レナは面識があるってことなのか？
From what I can see, this is the first time Mion and Satoko have met Hanyu. If she's been that close to us like Rina said, it's impossible that none of us would remember her.
気のせいじゃねえのか？第一、羽生は転校生なんだぜ。村にそんなにしょっちゅういたはずないじゃないか。
そうかな。たまに見かけたような気がするんだけどな。
気のせい気のせい。羽生だってついさっき転校前は遠くに住んでたって言ってたじゃないか。
でもレナは見たんだけどな。
Rina looked like she was trying to remember more. It's probably one of those deja vu experiences. Although it's the first time you see something, it feels like you've seen it before.
別にどうでもいいだろ。今はここにいるんだからさ。
そうなんだよね。あんなにもレナたちの輪の中に入りたそうにしていたから、 仲間に加われてよかったねって。
Rina smiled with tears in her eyes. When I looked over at her, Rika-chan was wearing the same expression. It made no sense to me why those two looked that way. But as soon as Satoko came over and pulled a prank on me, I forgot all about it.